Yesenia Covarrubias. I was in the reserves since 2000, but deployed during 2003. At the time of my deployment, I was in my graduating semester. My area of focus was a double bachelor's in psychology and communication studies. They gave us 3 days, we packed up and we literally left. So there was a lot of chaos. That's really what I remember from the beginning. Initially, we were in Wisconsin, so there was February in Wisconsin was really cold. We were gonna go through Turkey down to Iraq, and then last minute, as most people were aware of, there was a lot of changes, and we actually went through Kuwait. The initial process was really, really chaotic. Part of our unit went up to Baghdad, and my platoon stayed in Kuwait. When we got to Kuwait, the thing that stands out the most is it was hot, hitting 125 and above. It was just absurd how hot it was. Everyone was trying to figure out what was going to happen, the gear, the equipment, where we were going. We had an identifier, Fox 5, and with that means we do postal operations. When we were in Kuwait, our platoon manned about 3 to 4 different post offices. In the initial push, we didn't have a lot of equipment, so we did everything manually. We would throw ourselves into the job, and I screwed up my back really bad, to the point that there were times while downrange, like I would be on sick call, where I literally crawled out of bed. I was having moments where I couldn't even walk. The biggest challenge while I was there was being away from family, taking on a whole other life in an instant, being in constant fear of what can happen, traveling from one side to the other with a fear of something, making sure you don't stop, making sure you go around stuff. You don't stop, you keep going, you never know what can happen. And, there were times that I didn't know what was the next step. You hear everything like on CNN, radio. I think in 2003 there was like a lot of reporting on the radio. And so we would all be in the barracks listening, and we all kind of came to terms with it is what it is. You just learn to just accept where you're at. It's amazing what you can accomplish once you're in the moment. You just, you put your flak vest, carry your weapon, move forward. The good thing about the reserves, you kind of come back with the same people you serve with. At least I did. We kind of all grew up together. Being away from family over the holidays, over the year, over the time, these people become part of your life. The important thing to know is that people handle stressors differently. And one of the ways I did, coming back from one world to the next, first of all, I needed to go back to school. I had to go back to school. But if you think educational facilities, they tend to be a little more liberal, which is fine. In that mindset, there was a lot of anti-war, and I really didn't know where I fit in. So when I got back, it was just like I felt really uncomfortable in a class. I felt really disconnected. Finished school. I did finish school. A lot of the people that came back, we would all be on the phone all the time. And it was interesting. A lot of us, obviously had, didn't like to be in large crowds. We didn't talk to anybody. I'm from a Spanish background. I have a fairly large family and a lot of questions. And even though my experiences weren't that as bad as others, I just didn't want to talk about it. I work at the VA. I'm a readjustment counseling technician / veterans outreach specialist. A lot of my mission is helping people understand, what is a claim? Where do you go? What are your choices? This is why it's important for you to connect with someone that knows what they're doing, because the way they describe it when they send it to VBA is how they're going to rate you. They don't know you personally. It's all on paper. I just think that my role is to empower our vets to use the system for their benefit.